Hey, have you heard of the boyfriend method when it comes to human trafficking?
There are many different types of human traffickers, but here is one that you should absolutely be aware of and be careful of: the Romeo pimp. This information is all provided by DeliverFund, which is a nonprofit that works to target human traffickers. Traffickers often look for somebody with low self-esteem or emotional neediness, but especially this kind of trafficker. They're looking for somebody who maybe wants love, acceptance, or maybe who's even run away. The Romeo pimp is probably someone who's going to use love bombing tactics. They're going to come on really strong and maybe even try to get teenagers to run away from home. Traffickers will often try to isolate the victim. And here's some risk factors to be aware of for trafficking victims: history of abuse, an unstable home life, and even a parent who is experiencing some kind of substance abuse, immigration status, physical or emotional neglect, and bullying and racism. It could be any number of these risk factors, and there's of course more, but please make sure that you pay attention for any signs of trafficking. A lot of times we just think that somebody comes up and randomly kidnaps their victims, when in actuality, that is not occurring most of the time. And the hard thing is that a lot of trafficking victims do not realize they are actively being trafficked. We have to understand how these things most commonly occur so we can really start to spot the red flags and hopefully put an end to this.
The most common way that a lot of human traffickers get their victims is not by kidnapping. You'd be surprised about the way that they strategize this and get these people into human trafficking. And you wouldn't believe it unless it happens to you or somebody close to you. Share this video to help bring awareness to human trafficking. These men who strategize how to get their victims are trained by other human traffickers. And what is the most effective strategy that they're using? It's the boyfriends that get their girlfriends to help them out. See, these men already know what women to pick. They go generally after teenagers or women that show signs that they are desperate for a boyfriend. See, they'll swindle you and love bomb you and make you feel like they can't live without you to get you to fall in love with them. And then guess what? As women, we're known to do anything for a man. So then they come up short on money and they need help. And they're stressed out because they can't figure out how to come up on this money for rent, for food, for whatever it is. And you don't have the money for them. You as the girlfriend don't have the money for them because you don't have a job. If you're a teenager, your parents don't give you enough money. So then what do? They ask you for this just one time. Babe, just one time. Just one time. It's going to help me out. It's going to help us out. And you fall for it. And you do it one time. And one time turns into 2 times, 3 times, 1 year of doing it nonstop, 4 years of doing it nonstop. And now you're stuck. And you don't know how to get out of it. But your boyfriend loves you and he's proud of you. And you don't realize that your boyfriend's actually your pimp. Now, this isn't always the case when it comes to human trafficking, but this is a very well-used strategy that a lot of these human traffickers use. I shared a story from this beautiful woman named Michelle, who was a victim of human trafficking. She talks about how she got into it and how she was dragged into it and how she's heard thousands of women get pulled in by the same way. Now, you might be watching this video and laughing and thinking that this is the most dumbest thing you've ever heard, but it happens and it's very common. Mothers, fathers, talk to your daughters. Let them know that no man that loves them will ever use their body to get money. A man will provide no matter how he does it, he'll figure a way. And it doesn't just have to be sex work. It can be explicit photos, explicit videos, anything that has to do with your body being shown. Because are they making money off of you?
We humans are wired for emotional attachment. We are highly social creatures, and that is why this tactic is highly effective and could literally happen to anyone. It could happen to me, it could happen to you. Now, the onset of the relationship feels and is very organic and natural. It looks normal in the beginning, it looks normal from the outside as well. And rather than fear, the perpetrator strategically targets human emotional needs. We're talking about the need to be loved, validation, safety. We all want to feel chosen. You're the one that I want to be with. You want to feel understood. And this soulmate connection and attention is almost too good to be true. And it's intentional. The strategic romance is a tool that is meant to make the target lower the guard down, trust this Mr. Romeo perfect man 100%, and subsequently form an addiction attachment to this guy, the perpetrator. The end goal is total emotional control without chains. You're not going to run to the police station. You're not going to tell it to your parents. You're bound to this guy to the point where the victim is not even considering escape as an option. We're talking about Stockholm Syndrome.
Traffickers don't usually kidnap like in the movies, they recruit. This recruiting can happen in public places like shopping malls, streets, schools, house parties, parks, or especially now, traffickers are online. They're using social media and game room chat rooms to groom our children. This is called the Romeo trafficking, where the trafficker is going to pretend to be the boyfriend, the safe person, the loving person, showering them with attention and gifts, and vulnerable teens often fall for this. And that can drive a wedge between you and your child. This grooming period can take a very long time, even up to a year, before the Romeos, the traffickers, are going to start asking for explicit photos, videos, blackmailing them for meetups, even to do things with their friends. After that, your child is trafficked. Please take this seriously. We always think trafficking happens in third world countries to somebody else. It's not true. Most children trafficked in the United States are citizens. Please monitor your child's online activity. Have this conversation with them so they can stay safe.
You start noticing that there are inconsistencies in the person's story and in details that they share about themselves and their life. The person seems to always have access to a lot of money, but it's not exactly clear what they do for work, and they're really vague about it if you ask. They try to isolate you or turn you against your own family or friends. They warn you not to tell your family or friends about them and about your relationship. None of these things means that trafficking is absolutely happening. However, they are red flags and warning signs that are important to pay attention to keep yourself safe in case it might be leading into a situation of exploitation.
Hey, have you heard of the boyfriend method when it comes to human trafficking? If you're new to the channel, my name is Randy King. I'm an internationally recognized self-defense coach. Despite what the movies tell you, most human trafficking isn't done by strangers in white vans. Traffickers use safer methods like the boyfriend method. With this very effective tactic, the trafficker selects a victim and then starts a relationship with that person. Could be in person, could be online. From there, the trafficker actually treats the person pretty good for a time. They spoil them, they give them gifts, they show them a life they're not used to. But then eventually an ask comes. Hey, remember the house we were talking about? If you just did this one thing, we could afford it. Remember the vacation you want to go on? Just do this thing. And then it starts to progress from there until eventually the person says no. And that's when the relationship switches from boyfriend to captor. The reason this method is so effective is because 1, the victim comes willingly. And 2, they've created a history of treating the person really well, which allows them to victimize them longer. This method is preferred because even if the victim escapes, they tend to not report it out of shame. Follow for more.
A man that I thought I loved trafficked me and ended up kidnapping me. Me not growing up with my dad, there was a part of me that was so desperate for fatherly attention. When I got my first little lick of a man liking me, something was unlocked. He knew everything to say to trigger my daddy issues. You're so different. You're one of a kind. Just shit that a pimp would say. He says, I want you to move in with me. And that was like, this man, he likes me. He wants me to move in with him. He starts to say shit like, I think we could make some money together. He doesn't really tell me what it was, but he says, you need to go back to work and bring me back the money. I'm thinking to myself, I'll try anything once. And if I don't like it, I can stop. And that's where I fucked up.
But you were giving him your money that you were making?
Yeah.
What was he doing with it?
He was using all of it to gamble.
But he was telling you that he was using it to help build your...
Yeah, to build me.
You might find yourself wondering why the victim often stays. You're wondering, why can't you see the big red flags just glaring and blaring and screaming at you? Why aren't you running away? And it's not, it's so much easier said than done. Many of the victims are still chasing the loving version of this guy, this previously Mr. Perfect from the beginning, and they're still hoping that the old version returns. There's a lot of trauma bonding, there's shame, as we previously heard, there's fear, there's the emotional attachment. So they need a lot of empathy. The victims need a lot of empathy, and they need to not beat upon themselves, because as I said earlier, it can happen to anybody. It's not about intelligence level, it's just the fact that the perpetrator takes advantage of the most basic need for a human being, the need to be loved, the need to be accepted.
One way people get tricked into being trafficked is somebody will come up to them and pretend to like them and become their boyfriend or girlfriend. They'll take them on trips, buy them all kinds of gifts, and take them to really nice resort. And then they'll say, hey, you owe me for all of this. They'll take them out of state. They'll isolate them from their friends and family, bring them to a hotel room, and force them to sell themselves. These tactics are used by Romeo pimps. And though it's not always men, it usually is. Here's a story I found that details what these girls go through from the point of view of a girl who went through it.
Or he was like pretending like he was my boyfriend and all that kind of stuff. And so then he was getting me hotel rooms and paying for dinners and clothes. And then probably like 2 weeks into it, he told me that I had to pay him back for everything. And obviously I didn't have money to do that, you know. Yeah. And so he opened a door to a hotel room, and there was 12 other girls in there. And he pretty much told me that his bottom bitch was going to show me what to do and how to do it, and because I had never prostituted before that.
I'm a survivor of human trafficking, and I just want to give you a couple of red flags to look for when you're dating somebody new to make sure that they're not a potential pimp or trafficker. One of the first red flags to look for is, are they asking you very intimate questions very early on into the relationship? Most of the time, they'll ask questions that are very intimate because they want to know about your past traumas. They want to be able to prey on your weaknesses so they know what areas to target and where to emphasize the most love or the opposite. They'll ask you about your family. They'll ask you about where you work, your money situation. They'll even ask questions related to your criminal history to see if there's anything that they could use to their advantage. Another red flag is if they're not looking to settle down. Many of these pimps or traffickers want to look for somebody who's willing to have an open relationship because they know that in the future there's going to be more women involved. Another red flag is if they love bomb you. So they might use some of the information they received out of asking those very intimate questions to try to manipulate their way into giving you exactly what it is that they think you want. So if you told them that you were abused in a previous relationship, they're going to try to do everything to make it seem like they're not abusive. If you tell them that the last person you were with didn't provide for you financially, they'll do everything they can to prove to you that they won't be able to do that for you. It's like trying to take a puzzle piece and cutting the corners so that way it fits in exactly where you want it to. And now, obviously, not every person you meet is going to be like that. There are people who genuinely want to ask you these questions because they want to get to know you. In my experience, it's better to be safe than sorry. There are many pimps who are very obvious and in your face, and they will let you know that that is what it is that they're doing. But there are others who don't. There are others who are less obvious because they know that if they get caught, it's a hefty charge. So ladies, please just be careful with who you entertain because you never know who's hiding behind these pages or who's hiding behind the mask of being a good person.
If you find this kind of content useful, feel free to share, sub, and like, or even do better, you can check out my playlist for more content. Stay safe, and until next time, ta-ta!